India gave one very important ideology to the world, that is non-violence. In most recent years, Gandhi showed how uh, non-violence can be a very important weapon for political ends. And Gandhi took it from ancient wisdom, and Buddha brought this non-violence long ago. So Indian contribution to political thought in the world is non-violence. How did Buddha himself get that? In fact, Jesus also may have been influenced. Some accounts say that Jesus was influenced by Buddha. So non-violence became very important ideology all over the world. That is Indian contribution. But how did Buddha himself get that ideology? From the history of Indian philosophy that we are discussing from this book, I am doing Jain antecedents, covering chapter 4, Jain antecedents from Gombrich book. The author says that Buddha was impacted by Mahavira. So Buddha learned these things from Mahavira. In fact, Buddha diluted the ideology of non-violence as advocated by Mahavira. Mahavira gave extreme forms of non-violence. Buddha diluted it. So Buddha was not the originator of this. Buddha made it more practical, more pragmatic by diluting it. So extreme form of non-violence was first proposed by Mahavira. So we need to examine why Mahavira proposed it at all. How did this non-violence as an ideology become so important in Jainism, which was passed on to Buddhism, which impacted Hinduism, continues to impact even in modern times. So the question is, why did Mahavira think the way he did? It appears that Mahavira's concern for non-violence is a part and parcel of other or related to other concepts, and part and parcel of the totality of the system, totality of the thought. Strangely, it is linked to rebirth, karma. How can rebirth rebirth be linked to non-violence? Because rebirth got what is called ethicized. Rebirth got ethicized, as Gananath explains. The ethicization of rebirth means rebirth is taking place, empirical. But how is one born? What factors determine rebirth? To be born as a rich man or as a poor man or even as an animal, subhuman. So, in simple societies, rebirth idea was there, but ethicization was not there. According to Gananath, in certain complex societies, India is one among them, rebirth got ethicized. That is, what contributes to good birth and what contributes to bad birth was proposed, which means our actions have significance. Okay. Harming leads to bad karma. Helping leads to good karma. Good karma is good birth and bad karma is bad birth. Okay. But what is harming and whom you can harm? Mahavira proposed, or early Jain scriptures proposed, that man through many actions is being violent. Early texts proposed that not only animals can be hurt, but plants can be hurt. Even matter can be hurt. Animals and humans have five senses, but matter and plants have one sense. So Jainism took life as a kind of continuity from matter to human being. Increase in the number of senses. So man can hurt not only fellow man, but also animals and plants, which means any action is hurting. All action is hurting. What your body does is injuring, what your mind does is injuring. Okay. So, even if you don't have an intention to hurt, you are hurting. So, this Suyagadanga Sutta says that though these beings have neither mind nor speech, yet as they cause pain, grief, damage, harm, and injury, they must be regarded as not abstaining from causing pain. Even senseless beings are reckoned instrumental in bringing about the slaughter of living beings. So this is a very paralyzing proposition. That is why Jains did very little, because all action was leading to harm. Okay. It is in this context Buddha made an important innovation. By making that innovation, he made nonviolence very pragmatic, because of which nonviolence became an important ideology, transformed Hinduism, and incidentally, it also influenced Jainism, from which Buddha himself took and modified. So, Buddha took certain things from Jainism, but he impacted it in the same way he took certain things from Brahmanism and impacted. So Buddha was taking, reforming, synthesizing, and providing a coherent picture. Okay. Now, what did Buddha do in terms of changing Mahavira's ideology? Buddha proposed that only sentient things have life and only they can be hurt. That is one proposal, which means man can injure an animal, man cannot injure a plant, cannot injure a rock. Why? They are not feeling creatures. I would say what Buddha said is very much in tune with modern science. What Damasio proposes. Feelings came at some stage in the evolution. Plants don't have feeling. Not all animals may have feelings. Feelings came when self came. When self comes to mind, consciousness emerged and feelings emerged. Damasio says that it came at one stage in the evolution. So to think everything has feelings is not true. Matter does not have feelings. Plants do not have feelings. So at some stage these feelings came, which is also called self. So Buddha's proposal that everything moving or growing or changing has life is not true. And now we know the number of senses is not the same as consciousness. Senses are simply pathways for data collection. Consciousness is different. Consciousness is awareness, sense of being. You may take the data from different sources. Blind people also take the data, though not through vision. Deaf people take the data, though not through this. So, fewer senses doesn't mean or lower consciousness. Consciousness is a different concept compared, is not one with the senses. So Damasio brings out these things very well. And Buddha introduces mind as another sense. That is another insight that Buddha adds. So Buddha settles what is sensory thing, what is consciousness, and what is life. So you can harm, injure only those things that have feelings, that is animals. Which means the ideology of non-violence is hugely modified and its extreme implications deleted. That is one. And second thing is, suppose you do something that you injure an animal. Does it mean you caused harm? No. Buddha says only when you intend to, not when you accidentally cause it or when you cause it when you have no other choice. That's not violence. So, to Buddha, karma is intention and not action. Whereas in Jainism, karma is all. That is, anything that causes pain, grief, damage through mind nor speech or body. Thus even senseless beings are reckoned instrumental in bringing. Okay, let me explain. In Jainism, anything that you do through body, mind, speech that causes harm is bad karma. Anything that you do, regardless of your intention. Whereas to Buddha, only those things that you do with an intention to harm, when there is a choice not to harm, is bad karma. So, non-violence is hugely diluted. So, what matters is intention and only animals. Okay. So, because of which extreme thing is removed. And compared to the violence that other people are doing in terms of animal sacrifices, eating non-vegetarian food, Buddha would come under middle way. It is not extreme as Jainism suggests, but not indulgence as others are doing. So Buddha's proposal of middle way is between extreme and extremisticism and indulgence. So middle way is pragmatic way of going about. Okay. So this is how Buddha modified. But remember, when Buddha is modifying, there are many things which Buddha accepted that Jainism believed. For example, life has a sorrow. That is what Buddha believed. And there is a cycle of rebirth and birth. Buddha accepted. And one can end it. That also is accepted. And people should renounce. Some people should renounce. And they can beg. And then they can form a collective, Sangha. Okay. So both Buddha and Mahavira lived around the same time. In the same town. Which also means that there is something in the ambience that is leading to these kind of views. So somebody comes so close to thinking in Buddha, it means there is something about the ambience. When there are so many ascetics, what are they trying? They're trying to liberate themselves from the cycle of birth and rebirth. So why were they so much concerned about liberating from this cycle? So in many societies there was rebirth, idea of rebirth. But then there is a cycle that has to be broken, and a good karma will do, and then ascetic practices, and then somehow this non-violence. We are not saying that this is all logical and it should be only like this. It is not necessary. But in India, this is how it came about. Okay. And Mahavira did not claim he was the founder of that school. He said he was the 24th. Previously, there were 23, which means Mahavira was claiming some continuity. Some figures were mentioned, some dispute about whether some of them are historical figures. And similarly, Buddha also claimed, or Buddhism claimed, that he was the 25th. And previously there were. So when they are making claims of 24th and 25th, surely they were talking about some continuity. So they were claiming themselves to be not founders rather refounders. So all this means some kind of radical, innovative thought was going on around that time. And out of that, the non-violence idea came. Thank you.